How do you become a world-class festival band? Hey everybody, it's Bruce here from WaterBear. Now this channel is all about helping you on your journey as a musician, creating a realistic and obtainable plan for your career. Now I'm quite lucky because my experience runs all the way from the heady days of the early 90s with big major labels, hit records, huge artists, #1 album, all that stuff, all the way up to today where we do things a little bit differently. And today it's all about that DIY ethic and the artists are fully in control. So it's time to take the power back and crack on. Before we get into all this, if I could ask you a favour, like and subscribe, and more importantly, give me some comments below. Let me know what your problems are and I will try and answer in the comments and help as best I can. Have you already played a festival stage and expected that to be a big break, and then the very next day you're back to the daily grind as if nothing has happened? I've seen that happen countless times. I've also seen bands absolutely hammer it home and it literally launched their career one show. So tip number one, maximise this opportunity. Networking with fans, signing autographs, taking photographs, all that stuff is super important because these days it ripples out into everybody's social media and compounds the effect of that gig. So get out there, don't be shy, don't sit in the artist stage, get out there in the crowd. And your social media is going to be super important because it's an opportunity for you to tell the story of the day for those fans who can't be there with you physically in the field, but where they can be is backstage, getting on the stage, almost feeling like part of the band. So it can be very, very powerful. And don't forget the hashtags as well. Try and involve the wider festival community because you can guarantee that only one band in 100 will be doing this well. So you could come out of this festival low on the bill, but top of the social media charts. If there is, I think we just invented that. Another tip is to hang around the press tent because you can guarantee that a big artist will keep a journalist waiting. Sometimes they have a little bit of time to kill. Nip in there and do that interview, tell your story. Print media is still important, blogs are still important, fan sites are super important. They will all be there condensed. In fact, there's a whole mini music business condensed into that press tent. So spend your time with fans, journalists, other bands, networking. Don't forget, we live in a time where it's not that cool to be a big star anymore, in inverted commas. We're all kind of on a level playing field, so therefore people with huge egos who turn up and shout at roadies and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of had its day. The people who do well at festivals tend to be professional and just nice to other people. It goes a long, long, long way. Tip number two is set construction. We know you're going to have a specified time, be it 25 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever it is. We've got to make the most of that time and it needs planning. So the gaps between the songs, the intro and the outro are just as important, if not more so, than the songs in the set. There's a huge responsibility now on the drummer and the singer to run the pace of that set and interact with the crowd. The drummer has almost got a DJ-like function. They've got to read the crowd and know when to hammer it home and start the song and when to end the song. So big bands tend to drive it home, but they do sit back a little bit. So some of this stuff can be pre-planned. Like for example, it always works to segue the first 3 songs together and just hit people hard. Other stuff, you have to allow for an element of spontaneity. Now, if your singer doesn't like to plan what they say between songs, that means it's very important that the drummer is really listening to what the singer says. Because if the singer introduces the song and then there's an awkward gap, the awkwardness is a bit like a comedian mistiming a joke. It transmits into the crowd. It has a feeling of lack of professionalism and you lose the crowd like that. So let's have a little think about tempo for a minute. And of course, in rock and roll, there are no rules. However, it's true to say that on a short set, the no ballad policy is usually a winner. Loads of mid-tempo tunes drag the set down, and up-tempo material tends to win, even if you're a singer-songwriter solo artist. I think you could take examples as wide apart as the Foo Fighters and Ed Sheeran, analyse their sets. Most of the material is much more up-tempo than you think because you've got to maintain excitement. So I always compare the design of a set to a line on the graph. What do you want the tempo to do? Where do you want to take the audience? Well, generally, we want to take them on this journey, getting more and more exciting. That's why joining 3 songs together kind of works. On a short festival set, I just keep going, make it as exciting as possible and leave people in no doubt about who you are and the fact that you've been there. There is, of course, an argument for a more dynamic sort of set that might go down in the middle. From my experience, it's hard to pull that off in a set that's less than an hour, but if you think you can make it work, give it a go. Tip number 3, use a cover version to your advantage. The right cover version can launch a career. Why? Because it tells people where you've been and where you're going. If the crowd are into the band, but are kind of floating, a cover version will nail it home. And a good point is probably second to last, just before your last killer song, leaving people in no doubt that you have absolutely ripped the place apart. So some examples of great covers are Sabotage, originally by the Beastie Boys, covered by the Cancer Bats. Marilyn Manson, covered Depeche Mode's Personal Jesus. Alien Ant Farm, Smooth Criminal. Free Falling, John Mayer. Red Wine, UB40. Nothing Compares, Sinead O'Connor. Everything that Leo from Frog Leap does, which is genius. He puts his whole personality into every cover version that he does. Lots to learn there. In the comments below, I want to hear your favourite cover versions. Which artists have done an amazing job with a cover? Playing a great festival set is something that will change your life forever and you will never forget it. And my favourite ever festival was Little Angels Reunion in 2012, where we had the privilege of playing Download Festival. And after a 20-year layoff, all this stuff, it was just like muscle memory. For all the 5 of us in the band, it just came back. We had an absolute blast. And the set just played itself, and the crowd was still there after all this time. It's an amazing thing. I've been Bruce, you've been brilliant. Thank you so much for listening and sharing what we're doing here. If you're finding that music is becoming a super important part of your life, don't forget you can do this kind of work. It's all about one-to-one mentoring. We do it day in, day out at WaterBear, and we frame it in a BA Honours degree or a Master's qualification. You can study from all over the world, online, on-site, or a mixture of the two. It fits around your lifestyle, not the other way around.